be doing the installation and assembly video for the 2015 to 23 Challenger rear diffuser by EMP. Okay, so we're going to start with the center section first. Start to install the blades on there. And then whenever you put the blades on, we always suggest having the screws facing towards the center. It just makes for a better looking install, you know, and then this one would be towards the center. And then on this side, of course, you'd flip it around and have these two facing towards the center. Just so whenever you're from the outside of the vehicle, you just see the screw head instead of the end and the nut. So it just makes it look better. Basically, first thing you want to do, stand it up, and then you'll put the screws in from the top. You're going to start with the shorter 1/2-inch screws. And you put one in the top, and you'll lay the L bracket over it. You put a lock washer over it. And a nut. And you can just finger tighten these for now. And do the same thing. Smaller 1/2-inch screw. Put in there. And then also, this is a prototype. So in the version that you're gonna have that's shipped to you, this would be a long slot right here instead of a hole in a slot, so that you can have better adjustment. Okay, so we got the 1/2-inch screw in there, putting the L bracket on, lock washer, and that. And you just want to hold these up. And then, since this is the bottom, you want to have the flat side of the blade going towards the bottom, and just slide it right between these two. It goes all the way down. And then you'll take your 3/4-inch screw, put it through the hole, get your lock washer on. Nut. We usually try to get this one tight first, because then it keeps the blade straight. You know, so now you can actually go in and fully tighten them. And you can get these really tight. And also, if you want, you can put thread locker on these threads, you know, on these screws, so that you can make sure that these will not come off. You can even get these so tight that sometimes the screw heads will actually countersink themselves into the aluminum. All right, so now what you want to do is just do this same exact thing for the following three, the 3 remaining blades that you've got on your center section. All right, so now that you've got the center section all together, you'll want to give it kind of a shake test, make sure you don't have any rattling. And one of the things you want to watch for is that top and bottom of the blades are not touching. You can rock them, to make sure that they're not touching, because if they're touching, you might get some rattling whenever you've got it on your car when you're driving. So if you get any rattling, then just kind of look at them, make sure that they're all not touching. Whenever you're tightening up that bolt right here. You can get it straight, tighten it up. You can still move it whenever it's tightened, but just make sure of that. All right, and then you're gonna want to put these angled spacers on there. And they will go in this direction, where the tallest point is gonna be facing towards the side with the EMP logo. You got the EMP logo here. And then there's a threaded hole up underneath. And again, in the actual version, this is going to be one long slot, so you have more movement, range of movement for adjustability. But basically, there's a threaded hole right here. And so you're just going to put, a screw through the slot. and then just screw it into this. And then you're just going to want to leave this, you know, finger tight, maybe a little more than finger tight, but you know, loose enough to where you can move it. And then you'll do the final tightening on this once you have it installed on the car. And then you're just going to repeat this same thing for the next 3 slots. So you have the spacers on all 4. Okay, so now you've got the 4 angled spacers installed. And you don't have to get them too tight. And like I said before, you have it installed, you can just have it just tight enough to where you can still adjust it, because you want to be able to get the installation screws through these holes, which will just come up through the slot. And you don't have to get those screws extremely tight whenever you're doing the install in the car, because they don't actually have anything that's structurally holding it. It's just to hold these in place and make it easier for the install. Okay, so now going to do the side blades. You got 2 side blades, and you'll also want to put them together to where they're mirrored from each other, so that one's on one side of the car in one direction, one's on the other side with the other direction. So it's going to be same thing as with the center section, where you're going to want to get the 1/2-inch screw, put it through the top, and your L bracket, lock washer, and then net. Just get it finger tightened where it'll kind of hold itself in place. And then you can get your blade, slide it on there. And then since the flat side is what faces the inside of the car, you're going to want to put the screw hole, the screw head, on the opposite side. So you get the screw head, screw, lock washer, and nut. Same for down here. Then you want to do your final tightening on this as well, and also making sure that you've got a gap here and a gap here, so that you don't get any rattling. So just tighten all these. And another reminder that you can put thread locker on these so that they it doesn't rattle loose and fall off later. But get them on there, get them tightened up, double check, make sure you got everything else tightened up, that you've got spaces right, there's no vibration, no rattling, and then you're ready to move on to installation. Okay, now we're going to move on to the installation portion of the video for the Challenger diffuser. First thing, got to get up underneath. There are 4 plastic rivets. You're going to need to remove all 4 of those, and you can use a body panel tool similar to this, or a screwdriver. We just happen to have this tool, makes it work a lot easier. And just do the same for the remaining 3. Okay, so now we've got the car jacked up, and we're about to install the center section. We've got 4 machine screws, 1032, that go with 4 nylock nuts. Then we've got 4 rough threaded number 10 screws with 4 lock washers. All right, so the first one you want to use is the machine screw, and it's going to go in one of the forward holes. And then this is going to go into one of the holes up under here that you pulled the plastic rivet out of. Okay, so then you're going to get your first screw in, and you can have somebody holding the other side or prop it up on something so that the other side is held up. Put the screw through. And then it's a little tricky, but then get the nylock nut on the other side. Then you can just get it finger tight for now and make sure that it's in there solid. And then you can continue on and get all those bolts in the remaining 3 holes. Okay, so then once you've got all 4 of those screws finger tightened in there, then you can adjust it. This one, again, is the prototype, so it doesn't have the long slots, but in the actual version, you can actually pull it out, push it in, so that you can get it just where you want it. And then you want to go up underneath with a 3/8 inch wrench and a Phillips head screwdriver to tighten those bolts up. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and start tightening these 4 bolts that are going into the nylock nuts. Yeah, that came out of those stock holes that we pulled the plastic push pins out of. You can get all 4 of these tightened up good. Then you move to the other 3, get that done, and we'll move to the next step. Okay, so now we're going to use the longer screws and the lock washers. You're going to put it through the back hole, which this will be a slot in the version that you're looking at. This is the prototype. Now you put it in the back hole of the angled spacer, and then make sure that the diffuser is all the way up against the back of it. You can use your knee or a friend or something to hold it up. Make sure that it is held up tight so that there's no gap between the bottom of the bumper and your angled spacer. And this is where it's good to have a powered screwdriver. And then just push up. Start going down. And this, you don't want to get too tight because you can strip out this plastic. So just get it in there kind of tight, and later on you'll go back with a hand screwdriver and tighten it up, but still make very sure that you don't over tighten these so that you strip out that you do not want to strip out that plastic. All right, so now you want to go back with the hand screwdriver and just make sure that it's slightly tight. There's going to be friction in the plastic that holds it from coming out, so you don't have to get these super tight. And let's do the same thing for the other 3 screws. Okay, now the center section is installed. Yeah, you can make sure it's nice and sturdy. Okay, so now we'll move on to the side blade installation. And then the hardware for the side blade will be one of the same 1032 bolts with a nylock nut. And you got the lock washer with a number 10 screw. And then there's also up underneath, we've got another one of the plastic rivets that we've got to get out that's going to go into this hole right here on the side blade holder. Okay, so I just want to go ahead and remove this plastic rivet. Okay, so you want to take the 1032 bolt, put it in from the bottom, and then put it in through the hole that you just took that plastic rivet out of. Then take the nylock nut, and then go from up above and get that on there, and just do, get it on there as far as you can get it, because of course you hit the nylon and it doesn't want to go any further, just so it's up there. And then you're gonna have to tighten that up a little bit, so you have to get your wrench and screwdriver. All right, if you've got clips, they come in real handy to kind of line the hole up with the bottom of the plastic on the side here, so that you can get a screw in there, so that it'll hold the back up while you get this front end tightened up a little bit more. Okay, so there's a hole and a slot. If you've got a wide body, you can use this slot and it'll connect up to the wide body portion that goes up under here. And if you don't, you can just use the hole. It's a very thin area that you have to connect to. So you're just gonna line this hole up with the bottom of this plastic so that you can get this, shorter of the installation screws in there. You're gonna wanna really make sure on this because it's, like I said, it's a very small piece of plastic that you're trying to get this into. Then again, don't get it all the way tight, come back and hand tighten. Okay, so now for the third screw, it actually goes through this L bracket that's holding on the side blade. So that's the only one that there won't actually be one of the other bolts through. And once you got your other two in, the one in the back, or the one towards the front, and then the one in the back, and you can get this middle one in. Then just get it slightly tightened in there. And of course you're going to want to go back and hand tighten these three with a hand screwdriver. And remembering on the middle one and the one towards the front of the car that you don't want to get those too tight because they can strip out the plastic. So just make sure they're snug. Do not over tighten. And then this one you can get pretty tight because it's got the nylock nut on it. So go ahead and get this one pretty tight, and then you're done with your side blade, and then you just move to the other side and do the exact same thing for the other, and then you'll be finished.